Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project's Brain Health and Nutrition webinar. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions or comments or some feedback, you can type all of those in the questions box on your control panel. If you go down a little bit further, you'll also see that we have 3 handouts available for you to take with you today. One of them are the slides, and Veronica has a recipe for you, and then we have a handout from our program, the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. So at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the questions box. If we don't get to your question today, we will get to it within 24 hours, so it will be answered. And we are the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. We are a division-funded program with the ARC of New Jersey since 1983. We support the state's largest network of individual self-advocates and self-advocacy groups. We provide comprehensive training and resources to self-advocates, family members, direct support professionals, and other agency personnel. Today we have with us Veronica Ramirez. She is a marathon runner and a transformational health coach. She's passionate about nutrition and teaching others how to live a healthier and more well-balanced life. She provides trainings on nutrition, wellness, and healthy movement on our social media, so she might sound familiar. You can also find her on social media by using the tag Vero Pure Green, and her website is www.veropuregreen.com. A little bit about our program. We do have things going on every day, so you can check out this handout we have to find out exactly what we're doing, and there are a lot of links for you, so you can sign up exactly for our Stay Healthy at Home webinars in the future, for our HLP Live events, and again, so you can set a reminder to watch the social media videos that Veronica posts on Mondays and that we have posted the other days of the week. If you're more interested in what we have to offer, which is a lot, you can click here to join our email list. You can also click here to register for our Healthy Lifestyles Project Live, which is on Wednesday at 11 and Friday at 1. We are also still doing free trainings around the state. We're just doing them virtually. So feel free to visit our homepage and sign up for trainings. Let us know what you're interested in. And as always, everything is available on our YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Veronica. Veronica, thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope you're having a great week. I wanted to thank the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project for having me here today and everybody who's attending this webinar. I hope these information that we are going to share today is helpful and you can incorporate different ideas or tips so you can improve your brain health, which is something that I think a lot of us are trying to work on. So I wanted to thank you again for being part of it. Also remind you that we are not doctors and we're not trying to diagnose anybody. So if you have any additional questions, you can, of course, share the questions with us, but also I will recommend that you ask your doctor if there's anything that you have in terms of your diet or your daily activity that requires medical information. So we're gonna get started, and today's topic is brain health. So a lot of you, and I think a lot of us, are paying a lot of attention and maybe dedicating more time to this topic so we can stay healthy, happier, and also bring more joy into our lives. And if you also want to get more information about the information that we're going to share today, you can visit my website, like Erin said, and you can go to veropuregreen.com. And let's get started. So brain health, something very interesting that maybe we were not paying attention, or we don't tend to pay attention to. We usually tend to look at ourselves in the mirror, for example, and that's how we start our day, and we judge ourselves and also make decisions based on what we see. Maybe because we don't see our brains, we neglect its importance and we don't pay as much attention as it needs. So I wanted to give you a short story that I've been thinking about a lot, and it's something that I experienced growing up. And I remember being a teenager, and when I looked at myself in the mirror, I used to have a feeling of wanting to hide from the world because my skin was not perfect or not the healthiest. And also judge myself and not feel comfortable enough because my legs were too skinny. When you have these thoughts, you don't realize that these can really affect our brain health and the way we see ourselves and the way we interact with people. So I will recommend that you pay attention to these things. When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? I want you to think about that. How do you feel about yourself? I also have found something very helpful, which is paying attention to your feelings. Your brain is connected to what you see, and the messages that you send to every single part of your body comes from your brain when you first look at yourself or think of yourself. So I invite you to, when you have these moments, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can write down whether it is positive things, but also negative things. So maybe you can work on these things, maybe improve the things that you feel like you're not, feeling good about, but also reminding yourself all the amazing things that we all have or that you have individually, because we all do have amazing things that we don't pay attention to. So this is just a little tip that I wanted to share with you. And hopefully this can help you start looking at your brain from a different eye, from a different perspective. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to keep our brain healthy, because the brain and the way it functions, it really controls the way we interact with people and with the world. It could be at work, it could be the way you interact with your friends, with your family members. And it's an area of our lives that we really, really, I feel like we really have to pay attention to. Going back to another story, there's something that I think we are usually maybe judged by the outside world, which is our personality. And sometimes I'm going to give you an example. For example, for me, I was always the moody one in my family. I come from a family of 3 sisters. And, I was always either the super active one, the loud one, but also the moody one, the one that will get upset really quick, or, just upset about little things. And I kind of grew up thinking about myself, as having like a name tag, like something that identified something negative that I had. But I have realized that by just paying attention to that and doing things to improve that has made me realize that maybe it's not really part of me. Just by making little changes, I have been able to change that and enjoy not being moody or interacting in a different way that brings more joy when I am interacting with others and the relationships that I have with other people. And when you have a healthy brain, you really start enjoying having a clear mind, being more active, and also work better, feel better at work or just doing things around your house, and also enjoy rest better, because everything that you do has a purpose. But when your brain is healthy, you tend to enjoy all these things at a different level, and also play more, just have more fun in general. So I encourage you to maybe pay attention to this and look at the things that are maybe not making you feel that good, that your brain and your gut is telling you, and try to see how you can change these behaviors or how you can improve different things, or just incorporating new things so you can improve this area of your life and start paying more attention to your brain health. So I wanted to show you something very important that I have been reading about, and also trying to understand how When we look at ourselves in the mirror, or maybe when we do our hair or our makeup, we do pay a lot of attention to things that we see. And of course, we don't see our brain. But looking at these pictures, we can see on the left side, there's a picture of a brain in 2015. And then you can also see the one after, a couple of years later. In this picture, it's a scan. It's called a brain SPECT, and evaluates the blood flow and the activity in your brain. This SPECT, or this type of scan, is also done in your heart, so they can identify the blood flow in your arteries or in your heart to identify if your heart is healthy or not, or if you can identify or just find different illnesses or problems that you're having with your heart. And it's also done for bone density. So people that are trying to just look at their bone density and the health of their heart, these are something that doctors can use to look at that. And studies have shown that your brain can change and develop further as you get older. Of course, like everything else, our skin, our eyes, all our organs with age, they can really change and decay and just tend to not be as healthy as we want to. But we are really responsible for this. So I think that if we look at our bodies, not only the parts that we see, but everything else as a very important component of our health, we can definitely start making changes. And one of the easiest ways that you can start doing this is just making small lifestyle changes. And when you incorporate these things, you can not only improve your brain health, but you can also improve other areas in your life, like heart health, coronary diseases. You can improve your cholesterol level, your happiness. So it's something that actually works together. On the bottom, you can also see some resources that are also going to be shared at the end. So you can learn a little bit more about this topic. Like I said, the brain SPECT, what it means is a single pulsing emission computed tomography. So it's just a simple scan. It's not that simple, but it's a scan that is done to identify the flow of the blood in your brain. So as you can see on the left side, this is a picture or a scan of a healthy brain. And then on the right side, you can see a picture of a brain with Alzheimer's. Okay. So studies have shown that more than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. And maybe as you have heard, Alzheimer's and other brain diseases are on the rise. And of course now, because of the conditions where we are in with the pandemic and maybe the lifestyle that we're living, we're just moving way too fast. We're tending to be disconnected from our life, from our families, from the things that we enjoy. And I think this is one of the reasons why we should maybe pay more attention to this. It's also, studies have shown that also by 2050, this number is projected to rise to nearly 13 million. That's more than twice the number that we have right now. So it's actually rising pretty quickly. So I think it's very important to look at these and maybe take action and start making changes in our lifestyle, and maybe just incorporate simple things like maybe doing a little bit more exercise, or just being more connected with what your body is telling you in terms of your brain health, how you feel, how you look at yourself. And people with depression have a 40% higher risk of developing cardiovascular and metabolic diseases than the general population. So all of these conditions are really connected. Our body is not just one organ. I think that, we can eat as healthy as we can or want, but I think we also have to pay attention to other things. Things that we do, they should feel good. They should make you feel happy. They should be things that we really enjoy that can benefit our health. So I think that if you're thinking of incorporating, options or new things that you want to use to improve your health in general, um, should be connected. And I am sure that if you do just start with one little thing, you can not only benefit the brain, the health of your brain, but also your other, the rest of your body, every single part of your body. But I think it's also important to focus on the positives. We tend to, worry about the statistics and the numbers. But I think the best way to target this is to really think of what we can do. There's ways to start making changes. So let's think about our brain and how we can take action or just, make sure that we implement practices to improve it. So I want you to think maybe about one thing that you want to challenge yourself and practice it for one whole week and see how you feel. When I was a teenager, I remember, just feeling like I was lost in all the negative stuff that was happening to me. But I feel like as I became aware of, the things that were affecting my health, my brain health, and I was an adult, I feel like once you are aware of it, you identify those specific things, you can actually start making changes and start feeling the changes. So not looking at this as a problem, but more like as a way of, being able to take control and start, using things that can be a solution. So one thing that maybe can help, I'm just trying to think of, there's so many ways, and that's also something that is very positive, that there's just not only one way. There's many, many different ways that you can start practicing brain health or just to improve your lifestyle or your health in general. So maybe just now that the weather is changing and that it's getting better, just put in your calendar and maybe just do a little bit of exercise. It could be 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be more than that. And if you don't like exercising, maybe just dancing, maybe just stretching. And if you can do it with somebody, whether it's online or just, through a phone call, or if someone who you live with in the house, just invite them. And if you do it consistently, you can actually start experiencing that it's something that, it's not impossible. And it can also give you, quick results, like you start feeling happy pretty quick. So I encourage you to do that. Just take action. Think about these as a not a problem that is impossible to fix, but take control of it and just start practicing. Some of the mental illnesses in the United States and worldwide. So some of them are the mood disorders, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, psychotic disorders, eating disorders, trauma-related disorders, and substance abuse disorders. So these are just some of the mental diseases or illnesses that are identified. And there's many others, but these are the most common ones in the US that are affecting our society. If you have any more questions, you can also, I added a link that you can read, but if there's also any questions that you have, maybe we can incorporate in future presentations or just share information with you guys. So I want you to think about these three things. Our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So I think these are the three things that are the main points or things that can affect our mental health and our emotional well-being. So I know that in the emotional part, there's a lot of outside things that can affect our emotions. So I remember that growing up, there was a lot of outside maybe dysfunction or conflict that really affected my emotions And I know that this is something that we are exposed to. Maybe, it doesn't have to be with family, it could be at work, could be with friends and relationships that can really bring a lot of, conflict and things that can really affect our emotions and, ultimately can start affecting our mental health. So it's important to identify, people that you want with you and setting boundaries. It is okay not to have everybody that you like in your life. There's many people that you have in your family and in your close circle of friends that maybe cannot contribute to this. But it is okay also to set boundaries so you can take care of your mental health, or maybe just find ways that are healthier for you to interact with them. In the psychological part, I think that it's very important to identify the things that are affecting your mental health. So there's many things that are really affecting us, and we're being affected in many different ways. But it's good to assess yourself when you wake up in the morning. How do you feel? How often do you feel these feelings? Maybe feeling sad or not motivated, or just maybe feeling, like things are not good anymore, just feeling dark, or, not enjoying the things that you used to enjoy. So I think that these are things that are important for you to pay attention to when you're thinking about your mental health in the psychological area. And the social well-being, it's something that is very important for us to practice as we get older. And I have seen, actually, now that we are not so socially connected, it's been amazing to see how even people that don't have a lot of, people around, or just people to be connected with in person, just by, people that have a dog, or, just doing things that you enjoy, even if it's through camera, just staying connected in any way is very beneficial. I remember that when I moved out of my country, I had a very long period of time when I was very lonely, because I left my family back in Colombia, and it was really hard to spend Christmas alone. And I was thinking about that the other day, you know, comparing that to the pandemic. It was kind of like a little mini pandemic where I felt like I was completely isolated. And we have a lot of moments in our lives like that, where we don't have anybody, where we feel like we don't have support, or we don't have someone to count on. But it is very important that if you are feeling this, that you try to find ways to stay connected for your well-being. So it could be many different ways, just to making a phone call, participating in like things like this, like webinars, joining a group, volunteering. You have the opportunity to do that. I know that it's hard now because we don't have a lot of personal, like physical interaction, but there's a lot of things that you can still do. Just giving with purpose, living with purpose. And that is something that definitely can help you with your mental health and your emotional well-being. So I will encourage you to also do that, so you can have the emotional, psychological, and social well-being, balanced, and start taking action so you can improve this area of your life. So let's do a little activity, okay? And we're gonna brainstorm a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions to see what you think about brain health and why is this important to you. So I'm gonna ask you to look at the polls. We're gonna have a little poll in interaction where you can answer some questions, and then I'm also going to share a question on the chat so you can answer. I'm gonna pass it over to Erin so she can go ahead and do the poll with us.
All right, so the first poll we have is, do you pay attention to your brain and mental health? So it looks like we have 73% say yes, 9% say no, and 18% say not sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's awesome that that's a big number for yes. So that's amazing. I'm very excited to do that number. Okay. So the next one. Do you think you know what can hurt your brain health?
So we looks like we got all the responses we're gonna get. So we have 67% say yes, 22% say no, and 11% say not sure. Sorry. Do you think mental decay is reversible? We're good. We've got 56% say yes, 11 say no, 33% say not sure.
Okay, so my other question was, out of these three options, which has the biggest impact on brain health? Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, lack of exercise, or lack of social interaction?
That's okay. We have some people writing in the chat. We have lack of sleep, all of the above, sleep. Michael wrote, I think they all have major impacts as a whole. I would say lack of socialization and lack of sleep to be the worst though. And then we have lack of nutrition. So if anyone else has anything they want to add or what they think it is, you can just type it in the questions box. So I think those are all the answers we have. We have lack of sleep, all of the above, sleep, lack of socialization, lack of sleep, and lack of nutrition.
Yeah, that's very true. Like I know that everybody is paying attention to all of these, and they're very, very important. But it's awesome to see that people are maybe looking at the sleep and the nutrition, which are two of the very good components to improve your brain health. So that's very, very cool. Thank you so much for answering all these questions, and it's very important to see how we all see our approach of improving our brain health in different ways. So I think it's very important when we all share, our opinions and how we see this topic. Okay, so now we're going to continue. Thank you so much for the interaction and answering all the questions. Also remember, if there's any other questions that you have, please make sure that you write them on the chat so we can address them at the end, or just give you sources so you can go ahead and get more information. Okay, so the next one. I'm trying to go down. I'm sorry about that.
You might just have to, there you go, you got it.
Sorry, you froze a little bit. I'm sorry about that. How to improve our brain health. So this is something that we were just talking about, and based on the questions that we asked, this is something that I think it's very confusing. Just like when we don't know what to eat, or we try things that maybe are not working. We're all different. I think the bio-individuality is something that is very, very important. So I think our work and our job is, in order for us to improve this area of our lives, is to find ways that we can, number one, find joy, things that we really like and enjoy. So we can ultimately, of course, be happy, because this is one of the things that maybe are not allowing us to, enjoy our lives, and it's connected to brain health, is to find ways to find solutions. And it doesn't have to be one size fits all. So it's many, many different ways. But studies have shown that those with the most social interaction within their community experience lowest rate of memory decline. And I think this is something that as we get older, and I was thinking also about these, comparing it to, my background. And I know that it depends on, different cultures or different situations. But I feel like, like looking back, I remember for example, in Latin America, people as they get older, they, in many other countries, is very different than it is here in the United States. And, as people get older, they do get support from family members. I'm not saying that everybody, but it's very common for us to, we don't have as a big social circle as we do when we're younger. When we're at work, we have more people, we're surrounded by more people. Also, when we are in school, we're surrounded by more people. And as we get older, that circle gets smaller. And this is something that I think that we don't have to have a lot of friends. We don't have to have a lot of people, but it's really important to find activities and social interaction and social activities that allow us to stay connected. So going back to, what I was mentioning before, volunteering could be something very simple. There's always so many different places where people need help. Just by helping one person can bring so much joy. I also have to share that my previous job that I had, it was something that I really learned to appreciate how when you have a job or anything, any activity that you are, part of in your everyday life, can give something to someone, can contribute something to someone. It could be whether it's teaching something or just giving someone a hand, helping out someone, just making somebody's day. It can really, really help us to find ways to improve our brain health. Isolation is not the way, and it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It could be just by making a phone call to a friend or someone that needs that connection. Just ask someone, how are you doing? How was your day? What's good, what's bad? Just sharing your experiences. Or maybe just dropping off something at somebody's house when they need it, when somebody gets sick and they cannot cook, or they have to stay inside because they're not supposed to go out and they don't have a lot of help, just buying something or making something and drop it off. Maybe mailing something to someone, a little note. It doesn't have to be anything big, but all these actions are very important. And I think because of the way the world is functioning and the culture of our global life and the globalization of just us being in front of the computer or texting someone, is changing these and is making this social interaction and the connection more difficult. Like 2 months ago, I made a phone call that made me realize how important this was. There's been a lot of friends that I had that were very special to me, but as you get older and life gets easier, you lose contact with a lot of people in your life. And I made this phone call to an old friend who was always for me. She was there for me all the time in my most difficult times in my life. And I kind of like felt like, it's interesting how you just forget and you lose this connection with people that you care about in your life. And after I made that phone call, I started thinking about, just by doing something like that on a weekly basis, it brought so much joy to my life. I was looking forward to Mondays. It actually changed my, the feeling of starting a new week, even if it was a hard week, if I was exhausted, just by putting that on my calendar and saying, I'm going to make a phone call, I'm going to call this special friend this week. I was looking forward to that day. And it brought a lot of purpose to my, my crazy schedule or just my busy life that sometimes we both, just get lost in. And it was very, very special. So I encourage you to do that. It's not a phone call, it's sending something, writing a note and dropping it in a mailbox, or just, giving a nice compliment to someone. And this, allows us to stay connected and have that healthy social interaction that we all need and we all are driving for. So we really, really need that in our lives. And of course, this is something that we all know. This is something that we grow up listening about. You have to stay active and you have to exercise. Even though we know it, I think it's not that easy to make it happen or maybe be consistent about it. So I want you to think of something. Just like we get up in the morning and, we follow a routine of getting ready to go somewhere, whether it's an appointment or go to work, just putting on our shoes, getting dressed, making coffee in the morning. How often do you think you can make time to exercise or do some sort of physical activity? I want you to be honest about it. And when you do that, you can actually start making time for it. Maybe also, giving up some things that are not as important, so you can make a little bit of room and space. You can incorporate a 10-minute workout. Now it's really easy in terms of ideas. Like some people used to have to pay a lot of money to get a, like a coach or a physical, like a trainer. But I think if you just incorporate some sort of activity that you can maybe find on YouTube or a website that somebody shares with you, and just finding something that is right for you. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can also, explore new activities, and also be mindful about your physical abilities, like not getting hurt, but just finding something that you can make it happen, and, setting goals that are not impossible to reach, and just make it as important as drinking your coffee or putting on your shoes in the morning before you leave the house. And when you do that, you can definitely make sure and, take action in terms of physical activity, which is something that is very important for our brain health. Oh, I love this one. I think that we have been taught that as we get older, we don't have the ability to learn something new, or maybe we're not as capable, because when we're little, when we're young, we are exposed to so many different activities. Either our parents or when we are in school, we're exposed to all these activities that allows us to explore things that we like or things that we're good at, like music, or sports, or maybe cooking, or all of these things that we have access to. But once we graduate, once we leave school and we start, our adult life and our busy, crazy life, we feel like we just fall into this schedule or routine of just doing the same thing over and over, because of course we're more focused on our financial area. We have to bring income, and we stop, just practicing this important thing, which is learning something new. I don't think there's any age for you to learn something new. We are built to continue to learn, and learning is one of the best gifts that we all have. So I also want you to think about something that you maybe have been wanting to learn. And of course, again, you have to be honest about, the level. It doesn't have to be about perfection. If you want to try an instrument, even if you're not good in music, you don't have to be a musician. Maybe just stretching, if you want to challenge yourself to maybe be able to touch your feet, or just maybe to sing a song without looking at the lyrics. Or now with the technology that we have, just being able to learn a language. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just to be able to communicate and understand some words. So I really want you to pay attention to this area. It's also very fun. It can bring a lot of mental exercise, and it's also a really, really good way to challenge your brain. So I want to see if you want to comment something, if there's anything that you enjoy learning that you want to share with others. Maybe you can, put it on the chat, and maybe, everybody can get interested, or maybe you can find other people that have the same interests as you. And like I said, this doesn't have to be, to be perfect, because there's no such thing as perfection, but just to bring more joy and, into your life. So if you want to go ahead and write in the chat, let me see if I can see the chat now. And you can share maybe something that you would love to learn, or something that you're working on to learn, something that you're working on to just improve, something new that you have not learned before. I don't know if Erin can see that, if you can share, because for some reason I don't see it, but you can maybe see anything that people are sharing. You can go ahead and say it if not. I appreciate everybody sharing ideas.
Yeah, we don't have anything in the chat right now, but if you want to put something in the questions box about what you're learning, what you want to learn, what you're in the process of learning, you can just type that in the questions box and we'll be able to see it.
I don't know, for some reason it's not letting me write. It's just, so that's why I'm not able to write, but.
Yeah, there's typically we can write something in the chat to each other. Oh, Sharon Clark shared that she's learning French.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Are there things that anyone would like to share that they want to learn? You can type that in the questions box. If anything else pops up, Veronica. Oh,
Okay.
Nicole is sharing that she wrote piano.
Piano, nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing, guys. That's amazing. I think that that's one of the, that's a really good tool and a way to definitely bring more joy and improve your brain health. So keep learning and keep sharing ideas. And thank you for sharing. Okay, we're gonna continue.
Gail shared that she would like to learn German.
Oh, that's awesome. And if you don't know, there's a lot of different websites. There's a lot of applications also on your devices like Duolingo. And I know the self-advocacy is also really good about sharing these resources and things that you can incorporate. But that's amazing. And languages is, I think, is one of the things that we're all capable of learning. You don't require a lot of time, or it's just practicing, and it's really, really fun. So that's a great tool. And thank you guys for sharing that.
We have one more. Victoria wrote, I taught myself how to self-publish books on Amazon last year.
Wow, that's amazing. That's super, super cool. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a hard one too. But it, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything super difficult, but something that really you enjoy. And it's very interesting to see how once you challenge yourself or just start, you see potential in areas that maybe you have not explored because you're not dedicating time to do that, because we're so busy and we're doing so many other things. So just making time for that is really, really great. So I encourage you to do that, and thank you for sharing. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next slide. And this is something that is very, very important. I think it's affecting not only adults, but it's also even affecting children nowadays. I think it's just the lifestyle and the way we're living, the things that we are exposed to. So I want you to also, if you want to put in the chat as I go through the slides, but if you think that you are sleeping or your sleep is good enough, or if you're taking care of your brain health by sleeping, or, like this is something that I think is, we're not giving enough attention, and we're so busy. All we want to think about is just we need to get things done. We don't think that sleeping is a productive way of living. We feel like maybe if I sleep too much, then I'm not gonna have enough time to finish my project. We're also falling to the checking emails at midnight or late at night when nobody is interrupting us. But then you tend to fall into that routine, and it's really hard to undo that if you just don't pay attention to it. And really, sleep deprivation makes us very moody and irritable, and it also impairs our brain function. It can also affect our memory and the decision making. This is also something that I personally had to really, really get serious about. And I think when also as a mom, it's something that we experience. Women, when we have children, it's something that we feel like when you have a baby and you have to constantly wake up. The next day is really hard to function. And I think if we, don't pay attention to this, it can really hurt us. Also, people that are in the corporate world, or people that are, just having different reasons that are affecting their sleep. And if you can assess your daily function, the way you feel, and just by, again, challenging yourself and tracking maybe the number of hours that you're sleeping every day, you can really start making changes and seeing a big difference in your life and the way you function. Even your mood, it's almost like your personality changes. Again, this is attached to my moody personality, perception. People thought that I was, the moody of the house. And unfortunately, the sleeping was one of the components of these, behaviors. Um, when you don't sleep, you're very irritable, and you also get really hungry. Your hormones are not balanced. When when we're sleeping, there's so much that our body needs to do while we're sleeping. Not only recovering our cells and the tissues, but also allowing to detox all the things that are put into our bodies, things that we absorb, things that we eat, things that are good and bad. Things needs to be absorbed, but then also other things need to be eliminated, and all of this happens while we're sleeping. And like I said, it's something that if you can challenge yourself, just like learning something new, maybe start tracking if you feel like you're not sleeping enough. I will recommend that you can put this into practice, or make it not a homework, but pay more attention to this. And of course, the lack of sleep is something that is affecting us, and it's likely to raise your chances of develop, mental illnesses. Like one of them is dementia, and it affects our memory and also the way we interact, and the way that we make decisions. So our brain on sleep. These are all the things that happen while we're sleeping. And again, I think that because we don't see this, we don't think about it, it's not that important to us, because it's not something that we physically see, and we don't even feel it. We might feel it the day after, but just thinking about all the things that happen while we're sleeping, it restores and repairs ourselves. Our brain works really hard doing this while we're sleeping. It also works really hard prepping us for the next day. I don't know if you know and you feel like some of you or a lot of you have experienced this when you have a very bad, night's sleep, and you just stay up all night, or any whatever interferes with your sleep, and you go to work the next day. It's almost like you're set up to have a difficult day. You're just not yourself. And there's days that we really need to have our mind clear when we make decisions of maybe buying something, or registering for something, or just saying yes or no to something. And if we connect these to the importance of sleeping, I think we're going to start treating sleep and seeing it in a different way. It also helps us clear out our toxins, and of course solidifies your memories, which is good for your memory as we get older. Keeps your body healthy. Of course, now we need to work on our immune system, and unfortunately, when we don't sleep, we can compromise our immune system, and have more tendencies of getting sick. And also, if you are looking into regulating your weight, and maybe losing some pounds, or just regulating your weight in general, sleeping is a very good way of doing that. Because when we sleep, our hormones are doing a lot of work while we sleep, so we can wake up, and our insulin levels are ready to digest, and I mean not digest, but like break down all the things that we use from foods that we eat, and also just regulate our hormones in general, so we can control our weight. This is something that I think that the world is also practicing more, and I see it, and it's meditation. And I'm just gonna say one thing: being present. And this is what I thought about looking at this picture. And I want you to think about when you go through photo albums, or just going to photos on your phone, and how you feel about when you look at something that makes you really happy, like a happy moment, maybe when your child was born, when you met with someone that you really love and you took a photo of someone that you don't really see that often and you have that memory on your phone. This is one of the ways that you should look at meditation and being present. Just stopping everything around you and treating it as a picture. It's one moment you're absorbing everything that is happening at that moment and enjoying it, being thankful and grateful. So you can practice slowing down and stopping all the distractions that are coming from outside. So meditation to me is almost like looking at a picture. Everything stops. You can breathe in and just enjoying that specific moment, that memory that has been printed on a photo or saved on a device. And it also allows you to appreciate more smells, maybe remembering something that smells like something that brings you joy, smells and tastes and things and colors and things that bring pleasure to your life. Your brain loves exercise. Again, staying active is something that can bring a lot of happiness. Every time you exercise, there's chemicals that are released, like dopamine and endorphins, and your brain makes you feel happy. So I encourage you to incorporate these into your everyday life, and it also is really good if you are experiencing stress and anxiety. It's really good to regulate these things and make you feel better. It also boosts cognitive ability, which is also good for making good decisions and just feeling good about things that you do in your everyday life. So regular exercise is definitely recommended for keeping your brain healthy. The right diet can help you protect the brain. What do we eat? It's so confusing. I know we're running out of time. I'm gonna go through this really quick. And keeping the morning breakfast is something that I know a lot of us do. Maybe starting thinking about what are the foods that we should eat. When you wake up in the morning, your blood sugar is usually low, and the energy that you put in is what you're gonna, is gonna determine how you're gonna act and how your body is gonna function, during the day. So it's very important that you pay attention to the breakfast, skipping breakfast, and on any other meals too. But it's very important that we understand a lot of the foods, some of the foods that can improve your brain function. So I will recommend that you eat more fatty fish, which is omega-3 fatty acids. They're great for, not only your brain, but also for your cholesterol, your heart health, and your health in general. Blueberries, these are amazing fruit. This is something that I highly recommend. Broccoli, kale, and spinach for vitamins like vitamin K. Pumpkin and flaxseed, which is packed with magnesium, iron, copper, and zinc. We need all these, and it also has a lot of fiber. Dark chocolate and cocoa powder. And if you look at these ingredients, also make sure that are not highly processed or they have added sugars to it. But these are some of the foods that are recommended so you can keep your brain healthy. And also look at the standard American diet, which are to be the brain boosters and the brain busters. So again, the foods that we should be eating to fuel our bodies and of course take care of our brain health are listed here. You can go back to the slides, and if you want to print them out, you can look them up and have maybe these printed on the fridge of your house, and you can be reminded about the foods that you should stay away from or incorporate. Break the fast food cravings. So eating more healthy food will definitely help you stop craving foods that are not healthy. And the brain remembers what you eat. It's like taking a photo, and the more you eat it, the more your brain is going to tell you to eat it. So I would recommend that you start making changes, and your body automatically will start reminding you about healthy foods if you are eating them on a daily basis. And avoiding or eliminating highly processed foods. One example is refined flour, which is in a lot of our foods in the standard American diet, highly processed sugar, and of course salt. So these are 3 things that you should really be paying attention to. And to conclude our webinar, I invite you to look at your brain the way you look at your heart, and the way you look at yourself, and start loving yourself more, and start including healthier habits so you can definitely improve and take care of your brain health, which is very, very important as we get older. So these are some of the additional learning resources that are incorporated here or included, so you can visit them and get more information if you're interested. And thank you so much for being part of today's webinar.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Veronica, for being here, for doing this webinar for us. We will have this video and the slides available on our website in 24 to 48 hours. It will be on our YouTube as well. But if you want to go down to the handouts before we close out this webinar, you can grab a PDF of the slides and a PDF of a recipe that Veronica included for nut and berry parfait, and then also our weekly planner. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys have a great night. And thanks again, Veronica.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great week, guys.